This is the G.I. Joe Classified Series Dial Tone. Man, the hype surrounding this figure is just insane. When it went out on pre-order, there were still a lot of stocks. I was thinking, it's my childhood toy, but I didn't like it enough to go ahead and pre-order it. I said, I'm going to pick it up in the store when I see it. Man, it sold out fast. Nobody is selling it, at least out here in Manila. I could only find this in online stores. They're going for about 45, 50 bucks a pop. I kid you not. I mean, first it was leatherneck. People were going gaga over leatherneck. Then now there's oversupply of leatherneck. Now this time around, it's a dial tone. So luckily this thing popped up on Amazon. I was able to pick up one. I used a gift voucher for it. It came in like really good condition despite the shipping box being in banged up state. Very excited to have this figure. Let's get him out of packaging. And here is Dial Tone out of the packaging, and my goodness, what a figure. There's so much nostalgia from this figure, and they absolutely nailed it with this version of Dial Tone. Back when I was a kid, Dial Tone has been one of my favorite G.I. Joe figures, retro vintage figures of all time. I love this figure. I kept bringing it with me everywhere I went, together with Sci-Fi, maybe even the Techno Viper. And it's got to do with his accessories. He's got the coolest accessories back in the 80s, that cool backpack, the cool blaster, and he's a communications expert to boot. So I don't know, I had so much love for this figure. I actually put him, I don't know if I mentioned it, I put him on my recon sled, and he always sat in that recon sled in my displays. And man, if we do get a recon sled, I'm pretty sure we will at some point in time. That's probably the very first G.I. Joe Classified Series vehicle I am going to purchase. Let's take a closer look at the details of this new G.I. Joe Classified Series Dial Tone. Head to toe, the figure stands with his beret on at about 16 centimeters tall, or about 6 5/16 of an inch tall. And for comparisons, here is my usual go-to comparison figures. We've got the first version of Snake Eyes and the retro carded Duke. And I'm glad they didn't shrink him. In pictures, I asked a couple of collectors online how he fared. They said they didn't shrink him, but in comparison pictures, he did kind of feel small. But having him in hand now, I can just really say it's the old scale. I mean, they did not shrink this figure, not like General Hawk or Leatherneck. He's about the same height as these two other figures. You get them from the shoulders. He's even actually a little bit taller than Duke and Snake Eyes if you base it on the shoulders. Now, the figure has all the aesthetic and details of the 80s Dial Tone figure, from the color of his uniform, the knee pads, the green vest, the beret, and of course, the accessories. And one thing that's really selling this figure for me are the accessories. Let's start with the ones that, they're pretty good, but they're not the best ones. Let's start with this knife. Probably one of the best looking hunting knives we've seen in a long time. It actually fits his gripping hand very nicely, doesn't slide off or anything like that. And it's a tight fit in the sheath on his leg, but it doesn't bend or warp that knife. That's pretty cool. He has this one. This is a separate piece. It was actually up high here in the packaging. I had to lower it because I was afraid that this antenna of his sat phone was going to break or warp if you pose this figure. So I had it lowered, and this way the antenna's out of the way. It's not warping or anything like that. It is a shame though that it is a molded piece of accessory. They should have made it removable. That would have been a really cool accessory, a sat phone. But don't worry, he does come with a cell phone or another mobile phone which you can attach to his blaster. One of the things I really liked about the Dial Tone figure back in the 80s was he had an awesome blaster, and I'm glad they kept it up to spec. It kind of does look like a Nerf gun in some parts here and there, but overall it does have that continuity from the 80s of how his blaster looked. And I'm glad they didn't make it gray, because the 80s figure, it was gray, and they'll probably make it gray when we get him released in the retro carded version. But for me, this figure actually looks like a retro carded version. I don't need another retro carded Dial Tone. So he's got this bandolier or straps on his uniform. He's got that grenade, which is a staple of the old figure. He's got more straps here for weapons, and he's got this, a belt with a clip, and that is for this removable cell phone Sorry, my bad. Let's put that down. It's a tiny, tiny bit of accessory, and as you can see, man, it is small. You're probably gonna lose this if you're not careful. So it's got the play button. It's probably playing a video. It's probably watching from another camera, which I'll talk later, where his target is. So that's pretty cool, and you can actually just clip it and store it there. I actually thought that this clip was for another weapon that he had. And here's that weapon I was talking about. It is a spying equipment. I think it's a gun with the radar dish. Not actually a gun. I think he uses this to spy on communications in the battlefield, trying to scope out and sniff out the communications from Cobra. I think this is what it is. And interestingly enough, I don't think the old figure had this. This is something that another G.I. Joe figure might have or should have had. I think the name was Psych Out. He was green with silvers, and I think this would be that. So we'll probably get a Psych Out figure in the near future. This is pretty cool. Not my favorite though. He can hold it. And like I said, he can use it to sniff out some communications from Cobra. He's got this cool submachine gun, and of course the clip is removable, or the magazine is removable. Very nice. And I think it is blast effect compatible. Unfortunately, I don't have blast effects for the G.I. Joe Classified, and I haven't picked up a figure that had one. So yeah, very, very cool. And talk about this head sculpt. As you can see, it's very faithful to the mythology, to the original dial tone head sculpt, albeit it's a little bit more modern, a little bit better in sculpt, more details this time around. And he has a removable beret. I mean, come on. I thought Flint was the only figure that we're going to give this to, but a removable beret. I love that. Why am I the only one getting Jason Isaacs vibes with this head sculpt? A very young Lucius Malfoy. You know what I'm saying? Jason Isaacs. Anybody else getting that? Let me know in the comments. And here's where the magic happens for this figure. I mean, they hyped this backpack when they first revealed Dial Tone on Pulse. And the designers were saying, you're going to have a blast with this backpack. How interesting can a backpack be? Back in the day, the only thing interesting about the backpack was it had a movable earpiece or mouthpiece or something like that. I don't know if it... Was it a, it's not an eyepiece, definitely, but it was a communications microphone, I think. And I know, in the 80s, this was cool. Today, it's not cool because now we've got all these Bluetooth, wireless mic. But, you know, back in the 80s, when you were a kid, for a backpack to do this, that was the coolest thing ever, and I loved it. And I'm glad they repainted the backpack silver and not kept it gray. It's got some a leather harness or a leather sleeve. I love that. And what they did with this backpack is they've updated it for some modern equipment, which is, I mean, this is not as modern as this, but they had to do this just to keep up with the aesthetic, the original aesthetic. So that's cool. It comes with a movable, rotating, I guess, CCTV camera. Look at this. It's tiny, but it does move around, and I think the feed of this one, of this camera, goes into his cell phone. I think that's what it is. It's got another knob here, probably another camera. It's got some pockets molded in, and this is the coolest bit. Look at it right here. This thing opens up, and it reveals like a keyboard, communications array sort of console, and it looks 80s, definitely, because nowadays we've got tablets, we've got touchpads and all that. It still has these knobs. It kind of feels like he's going to do a mixtape, or he's trying to record a song, maybe Cold Slither, I don't know. But yeah, look at this. It's got these knobs for the synthesizer and to the equalizer. I think that's what it is. It looks more like a musical device, music recording device, more than a listening device or whatever. But should have been keyboards mostly, but I don't know. They're trying to keep it in the times. Like this, the G.I. Joe was the 80s, so I guess it had 80s equipment. Now, if you try and remove it, you can see this inside's better. They didn't have to do this, but they sculpted in a lot more circuitry in there. You got these boards, motherboards. Very, very nice. And I thought this is the main selling point for this figure, the accessories. Apart from his weapons, his backpack, just a lot of cool stuff you can do with this figure. As far as articulation goes, the neck is on a ball joint up here, ball joint at the base. You've got a smooth rotating ball jointed waist. You've got a nab crunch. You've got some butterfly hinges for the shoulders. Shoulders go in and out, forward and backward, 360. Bicep swivel, pinless double hinged elbows. Wrists swivel, and this one goes in and out. This one goes up and down. And I forgot to mention, he's got a really nice watch, military grade watch here, and a gauntlet on his left. Probably another communications gauntlet that he used the code Cobra with, or a bracelet for accessing, I don't know, consoles or whatnot. He has drop-down ball joints, can do the splits, kick forward, back, slightly backward because of his rear end sculpting. Thigh swivel, pinless double hinge knees. It's tight on the right leg, both joints, but on the left leg, only the lower joint is tight. The upper joint is a little bit looser than what I would have wanted it to be. Got a boot cut or calf swivel. Ankles go up and down and have the rocker tilt. As far as paint apps goes, they've molded all the colors in, the beige, the green, all that. A few paint apps. You got some black paint apps here and there, some silver highlights there, here and there. And the face sculpt obviously has some paint apps. His mustache, the grenades are painted, the pockets are painted, but that's it. And this logo right here for his, was he Rangers or I can't remember. But on that, very nice. Loving the colors on this one. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous classified series figure. And so some final thoughts on this classified series Dial Tone. Man, I really enjoyed this figure. I might seem a little bit biased with this figure. I don't know if you noticed, but I really enjoyed this figure. The accessories were phenomenal. I love the sculpt, the colors, the aesthetic, overall look of the figure will take you back to the 80s. Definitely one of my favorite figures for this year. I'm telling you guys, this figure for me is a very, very strong candidate for classified series figure of the year. For me, okay? I really, really enjoyed it. And the accessories, I think, are enough to make you want to get this figure. Kaya pala hype na hype pati ang presyo nito. Grabe. That's why the prices on this thing is ridiculous online. It's going for like 50 bucks, 45, 50 bucks. I kid you not. Now I can see why there's so much hype. Hype is real on this thing, man. But I wouldn't encourage anybody to pay more than 40 bucks. I think 40 bucks should be the ceiling for this thing. If you can wait, I'm pretty sure this thing is going to be reissued or something, or be re-released as a retro carded version or with a vehicle. So just be patient. Don't give in to the scalpers. Okay, let me know what you guys think of this G.I. Joe classified series Dial Tone figure. Hit me up in the comments below. And I just wanted to ask if you guys still want me to do my top 10 or top 20 favorite figures for the year. Because last year, 2024, I didn't do it. I was a little bit busy with family and vacation for the year end. But this year, I might have a little bit extra time. I'm thinking of doing just one for all the figures and then another one for Transformers. Let me know what you guys think. Do you want me to do one for G.I. Joe, one for Marvel, one for Star Wars, and one for Transformers? Or are you just happy with me doing like a top 20 for everything, inclusive with just combine my list for Transformers, Marvel, Star Wars, and G.I. Joe? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll do my best to come up with these year-end top 10, top 20 listings of my favorite figures I reviewed for the year. And as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Thank you for watching the video, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.
I don't feel so good.
Hey, Ezra, don't you know you're not supposed to use spray paints without lots of fresh air?
Dial Tone!
All paints, and especially spray paints, have poisonous gases in them. If you breathe too much, you can get very sick.
We didn't know.
Always read the label carefully and check for warnings before you start any job.
Wouldn't hurt to wear these masks either. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe!